As you walk through, you can see there's quite a lot of work has been transpired since you were here last. The video wall is up. There's a lot of the wayfinding signs are up. All of the gates are completed. We have the terrazzo floor is all down. We're now putting in the furnitures. So by the 15th of November, we believe we will be fully, I won't say fully operational, but operational, that we can have the passengers safely transition through the space. So you come up the escalator, stairs, elevator. We'll have a partition that runs this direction to funnel all of the passengers that direction.
Okay, what's over there?
There's going to be the queuing space. Queue. A line before you get to the screening. And once you're in this area, we're going to now be able to assign you which machine you can use for screening.
Oh, so you can't go to anyone that's available?
Correct. We are going to be, because only the ones that's manned, that we're operating, we're going to assign you to. Right here we have the decision point. So as the machine goes through, what we normally have is that the agent would stop the belt. They would call over one of their colleagues and say, come, take a look here. And then they will make sure that that bag comes out. They'll grab it, they would take it to another station, and then they would open it to see what's in it. That's no longer necessary. As the machine goes through now, you can actually identify that there's a suspect issue in the bag. You can tag that, and you can reject that bag. So it automatically diverts to this side. No, sorry, to the other side. So the passenger cannot get to it. So passengers are on this side. If we have a barrier now, no, it stays on that side. When it comes through, you'll be able to grab the bag. They'll be able to put it here while they pull up with the scanner.
Right, okay.
They have a hand scanner. They'll be able to scan the tray at this point, and that image will come up here. They have the opportunity now to enlarge the image, turn it, twist it, change the filters on it for them to be able to identify what's in the bag so that they can clear it.
Okay. So they won't have to manually take everything
don't-
out and see what it is.
Very, very seldom they would need to open a bag.
Okay, all right.
They will only have to open a bag if they really find something that needs to come out. So what you have is, once you have finished with the screening process, you collect all your stuff, and at that point you need to go through immigration on the outbound. We have the e-gates over here. As you can see, a couple of them already turned on. You can see the avatar. The one from the right. The one before the last, you can see there's an avatar in the display. Once you reach there, the avatar will sense you and it will wave you to enter.
Okay. So you need a human there.
Correct. It's going to wave you to enter. Once you're in place or whatever and the doors close, they'll kind of point to you what to do. If you're not centered, they'll tell you move to the left, move to the right or whatever, or look which way to look. So it gives you all of that instructions off of the avatar. It automates the system because this is a very routine process and people can get frustrated and get frustrated with certain people who don't want to listen. So we will have an individual here to be able to point out which one. And if there's problems with the person understanding the avatar, there's going to be human interaction to be able to assist as well. But we won't have one person per.
Right.
So instead of having 5 or 6 persons now, we have one person to be able to guide the process. Once you're done, you're into the departure hall. This is only used by those persons who have the chip in their passport. There are certain places that do not have chip, or if you're working, traveling with a family, where you have children again, or physically challenged, we have the manual counters that you're going to use. Flight information displays, all the gates, you can see them. Mosaic tiles to give A4 sea gates. So in the sea gates is where we have the commuters like the Waynaires and the smaller Simbat's commuters and stuff like that.
Small airlines.
Right.
Okay.
And that area where, again, if you want to walk, the contractor has really started the cleanup from that section coming this way. So you can see the floor, where we have more on the floor than over there. What you see here is the floor plates for electricity. We will have our chairs have connectivity for you to be able to charge your phones, your laptop, or whatever in them. What we have is a central drain with all sensors as well. There's a central drain. We'll put some kind of artificial grass in here. The animal can come in, relieve themselves. It goes down into the sewage. There's going to be a wet area that they can spray down.
Hose it down, yeah.
There's going to be an area you can take up whatever, dispose of it, wash your hands, and put it out.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
This is the main
It's
room.
for the men.
Yeah, this is a lot of cleaning that needs to be done, as you can see. And just for you to understand how it works, so you can.
Is this then? Some girl told me
The water's on.
it's a dryer. It's a dryer.
That's right. These are not activated.
First time I saw
Further
it.
down, they're activated.
Wow.
Is this one working? There we go. This one doesn't have any soap in it. The water is there.
Ricardo, state of the art, okay?
Telling you.
We realized that in the original design, there was no space for us to do maintenance on the restrooms. So every time there was a plumbing issue or whatever, we would need to cut a hole to be able to get behind. And there was always not ample space for you to really get behind to do what needed to be done. This way now we have a dedicated location where we can come in, we can shut off whatever needs to shut off, isolating the restrooms. We put in, where's one? Can I see one here? I see one all the way down there. These here are called shock absorbers. Just shock absorbers because the restrooms have a lot of pressure when they flush, and when they flush they shake the pipes. So on the 15th we are going to be operational. We use the word soft opening because there's still certain things that need to be addressed, but we want to give the contractor some space now to start on the other segments.
Okay.
The other section of the airport needs also to be worked on, and if we spend too much time up here, it's going to take a longer time before you can get to the other sections. So there's going to be certain things that are not completed,
That's
and
why
we'll
it's
be
called
working on
soft
it.
opening,
A soft
yeah.
opening.
Okay.
So there will still be some construction works going on after we are operating the space. That'll be coordinated with the live operations to make sure that there's no security issues, no safety issues for us to be able to operate.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurance.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurances.
St. Martin, the Department of Community Development, Family and Humanitarian Affairs proudly presents its second Things I Wish My Father Taught Me, a series of meaningful conversations in commemoration of International Men's Day on November 19th. The weekly podcast features several inspirational figures and moderated by Mr. Rishinal Arundel. The topics and guest speakers include mental health featuring Mr. Sharensly Valise and Mr. Star Peterson, lifelong learning with Mr. Jamal Newton and Mr. Marvio Cooks, Gilders and Sense with Mr. Jude Houston and Mr. Etzel Gums, and relationships featuring Mr. Alston Lawrence. Things I Wish My Father Taught Me offers a mix of critical reflections and entertainment. Join us every Sunday in November at 8 p.m. via the Facebook pages of the Government of St. Martin and Community Development, Family and Humanitarian Affairs, Tel TV 15, SXM TV Broadcast, TV Carib, and St. Martin Gov Radio 1079. During the hurricane season, a potential tropical cyclone can produce rainfall that can cause flash flooding and rockfalls. Stay away from flood-prone areas during heavy rainfall, such as Jump Up Casino on Emma Plain Road in Phillipsburg, ATLH Road Roundabout, L.B. Scott Road from Emilio Wilson Park until Cake House Supermarket, Zaker's Gut from Petro Plus gas station until the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Welcalaken Road Cahill from Welcalaken Road Roundabout until the One-Tete Loke Roundabout, Beacon Hill Road from Sunset Bar and Grill until the beginning of White Sands Road, and Rhine Road, also known as Mullet Bay Road, after Sonesto Maho Beach Hotel to the entrance of Kupakoy from the intersection of the University Drive until the intersection of Rio Grande. For more information on how you can keep yourself and your family safe this hurricane season, visit stmartingolf.org/hurricane. This public service announcement is brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
Prime Minister, I'm going to ask this question, even though I believe it's a Vromi question, I'll ask you this question. Can you give me a status update on the over-the-bank land, and when will government take the land policy to Parliament? And what is government's stance on the position taken by all notaries on St. Martin? I'd like to know what's government's stance and when will the land policy be taken to Parliament? And the reason I ask you is because as the chair lady of the Council of Ministers, I guess that you're updated on this, because now today we are in a situation where notaries have taken a stance, no approval of leased land.
I want us to understand, because sometimes when these questions are asked, and you're the chair of Parliament, you're the chair of the Council of Ministers, you're the Prime Minister, you should know. We must be able to understand that in our system, there are certain authorities that lie solely with ministers. For certain actions that they have taken a decision on or a plan for, yes, they come to the Council of Ministers for an approval, but many of the authorities do not require a Council of Ministers decision. We can get updates on them, and some things, basically, yes, it's something we have to improve in terms of ensuring we know what each other are doing. But a lot is happening, and the time to share that type of information isn't always there. So our council meetings are already quite long with the decisions we have to take, and still we plan in time for discussion items. So these type of things may come up in a discussion, especially if it's playing, in the public, etc. But the purview of land and giving out land does not come to the Council of Ministers. So with that being said, if there's a policy or if there's a legislation related to it, it would come, and I am awaiting further updates on that. And the Minister of Finance, Acting Vromi, will be able to give you further details.
Regarding the land policy, I saw that there is a final draft. The minister and I were supposed to discuss that this week when he returns. So the final draft is in the building. I'll await the response from the minister, and then I guess he'll update the public on this.
Address some of the non-communicable diseases and awareness for those. I do understand that there's also coverage for assistance in improving your nutritional health. So that's also a preventative measure that is covered by social health insurance. And so I encourage the persons, as was mentioned during those conferences, to turn to more whole foods that we need for our nutrients, to drink plenty of water, to ensure that you're feeding your mind and spirit with meditation and or prayer and physical movement on a regular basis to be healthy and not wait until you're in a state of degeneration to try to fix it. Prevention is always better than cure, and spending quality time with family, loved one, and friends also builds and connects our mental health, helps us to see that we're not alone in the situation. It also shows, when we talk about the NGOs, the churches, and the other organizations like Rotary, like Lions, that it requires collaboration. One hand can clap. Government can, provide opportunities, but of course, within the community, SDG 17 comes alive, where we partner for the goals. I also want to take the time to thank the EOC, who really supported very well during the passage of the hurricane, but the rains continued way after EOC was deactivated. And so the ministries, the Ministry of RAMI, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of TIAT, FEASA, all had to continue on their own with their ministers, of course, to do what needed to be done, and they continue to do the work. It is civil servants, it is human beings that are doing the work, and so I want to give them my utmost gratitude for what you've been doing. As was mentioned by my both colleagues, of course, the heavy rains, though we cannot term it a disaster, has led to situations that require fixing. So we do ask your patience as we address all of these situations and ensure safety on the roads, not just for the vehicles, but also for the pedestrians that have to make use of our road network.
Positive and negative energy has a real serious role to play when it comes to how it affects our day-to-day lives. But most of all, the environment, like I mentioned a moment before, is the key that amplifies that positive or that negative energy. Most of us may think that, okay, because my father is an alcoholic, or he's a drug addict, or my father is obese and he's fat, which means that we couldn't fall into that. We might think that it's hereditary somewhere or another, right? But even back in the days in school, when they give us this food pyramid, right? We see milk, we see cheese, we see meat, we see all of these things, which today, if you really pay keen attention and do your little research, that was like the pyramid of death, right? And they were just forcing that on us and educating on us. But the thing is, we know no better because of the environment that we were in and what they were taught, and they passed on that. That's like I wouldn't call it generational trauma yet, but it's kind of generational trauma that they're passing on. Because the reality is, over the course of time, we continue to pick up these habits and these patterns. And now because my father was sitting on there by the side of the road all day drinking rum, and I used to be cooling out by him, and that became my environment, sometimes that influences us as well. So we have to be careful about those environments that we allow ourselves also to be exposed to. It's very important to know, for example, if I like I mentioned, if we walk into a room and that split moment of whether it's a positive energy to be amplified, I can change the whole momentum in the room. But people would fairly believe that, oh, negativity should not exist. Negativity does exist. It is part of that atom. That neutron part, that is the negative part of it. Now again, how do we amplify it? Based on that environment, right? We know, for example, if I say, for example, the things that we've been taught when we see our parents at home, children absorb everything. So even how our parents talk to our mother, our father, how they are active and they get up in the routine to go to work on a daily basis, how they come home to put food on our table. Subconsciously, our children are monitoring us and they are learning from the environment that we set for them. Whether we amplify in that environment the positive or the negative in them, that is really up to us until they come to a point of an age where they can make more, conscious choices for themselves, right? But the reality is you cannot take away the negative out of the world. It's like you have a battery and you have the plus side and you have the negative side, right? And you have two wires on top of it. If you take off the positive side, what happens? No light, right? You put it back on, you got current, light. You take out the negative side, what happens? There's no life, right? So you see what I'm saying? The negative will always exist. How we deal with it, or how we have been learned to deal with it, is the most important aspect that we have to pay keen attention to.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurances.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurances.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Here are a few tips to keep in mind to help keep you and your family safe. The Atlantic hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th, with the peak occurring between mid-August and late October. This hurricane season, be sure to put together a go bag. A disaster supply kit including a flashlight, batteries, cash, first aid and supplies, medications, and copies of your critical information if you need to evacuate. This public service announcement was brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
St. Martin is my home, and I do but anything to make it known. Think of it.
A $300,000 investment in Highway 7 is anticipated to begin in a week's time. This was disclosed during a walkthrough along the South Coast this morning by Acting Prime Minister and Minister of Transport, Works and Water Resources, Santia Bradshaw. She says an overlay on a section of Highway 7 is to be done.
Because we recognize that there has been significant inconvenience to Barbadians and to tourists for the last few years as it relates to this particular road. There are a number of potholes, there are a number of patchy areas, particularly where we are standing now. I think between the area by Tiki Bar all the way down to the area Tapas, which I think is perhaps the worst part of Highway 7. And we're trying to address those to give the road the proper seal that is necessary, that if we get heavy rains again, hopefully it will at least hold up as opposed to continuing to deteriorate over the next few months.
While the entire Highway 7 will be done eventually, only this section will be completed in this phase.
We want to make it clear the entire road of Highway 7 is not being done, but we have identified with the technical team the very specific areas which are the roughest and the ones which I think are very problematic in terms of the potholes. We've had a lot of rains recently, and it's not just Highway 7 but across the entire country where we have had a lot of deterioration or further deterioration of our roads. And I know that the public is quite upset about the number of potholes that have arisen over the course of the last few days in particular as a result of that flooding.
When questioned on the quality of materials used on roads in Barbados generally, Acting Prime Minister Bradshaw said the selection was based on a number of factors.
Recently on the highway, we were able to use granite. We've used the basalt as well. So they have experimented with different mixes, different types of stone, depending on the type of area and the surface and the amount of traffic that is on those roads. Then that will determine the type of materials that are actually used. Are we satisfied with the works? I think that generally there is room for improvement. I think from MTW's end, there needs to be greater supervision of the contractors to ensure that the quality of the work is to a standard that is acceptable not only to the ministry but also to the people of Barbados.
Phase 1 of the work on Highway 7 is to be completed by month end. For Stowe Hoyt, CBC News.